Part 2, Chapter 8 of Sons and Lovers is called Strife in Love. Arthur was working in an electrical plant, but his wild and restless nature always got him into trouble. He sends a letter explaining he's joined the army, but regrets it. Paul meets Miriam and her friend, Mrs. Clara Dawes. Clara is separated from her husband and has taken up women's rights. Mr. Dawes works at Jordan's and Paul dislikes him because he's a bully. Meanwhile, neither Paul nor Miriam can break the invisible wall between them, but Mrs. Morel does not like Miriam. In March, Paul and Miriam are sitting on the riverbank. Paul senses that Miriam wants him, yet he feels he must resist. At work, Paul's promoted to manager. His sister Annie is now engaged. One night, Mrs. Morel tells Paul to bake the bread while she's at the market. Miriam arrives and they're joined by Beatrice, a family friend. The bread burns. When Paul and Miriam are alone, they resume her French lessons. She writes a diary entry that reads like a love letter as she stares at Paul with love and yearning. Paul felt a touch of hate for her. Annie soon tells Paul their mother isn't well, and perhaps it's her heart. His mother tells Paul that the bread was burned because he was engrossed with Miriam. Paul says he likes to talk to Miriam, but he wants to come home to you. His mother throws her arms around him and cries as Paul strokes her hair and puts his mouth on her throat. His mother kisses him with a long, fervent kiss. Paul strokes her face and kisses her. When Mr. Morel appears and sees Paul kissing his mother, he yells, "At your mischief again!" and grabs a pork pie and throws it into the fire. Mrs. Morel faints. Paul goes to help her. Paul feels at peace because he still loved his mother best. Paul's passion for art allows him to express himself freely, giving him immense joy. It fulfills him in a way his love for Miriam doesn't. Clara Dawes is introduced in this chapter. Paul sees her very differently than how he sees Miriam, and he describes Clara's mouth as made for passion. When Mrs. Morel expresses her dislike for Miriam, Paul acts as a concerned lover and fends off her jealousy by showing his mother how much he cares about her. The strength of love between mother and son creates a tension that shapes the narrative. This unique familial love is one of the passions Lawrence explores in this novel. The characters suffer from the intensity of their love, leading Paul to push Miriam away when she stands in the way of his devotion to his mother.